Say 5 to almost 8 minutes.
Yes,
Okay?
Coach.
Okay.
Let's do 4.5.
Joel's going to let you know
Yes,
when to
sir.
go, okay? All right.
All right, 3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to Real Talk Basketball on 98.6 FM, and today we're going to be discussing the Kevin Durant trade rumors today. What do you guys think of them?
I think Kevin Durant would be a really good add to Boston, but the cost would be a little too much. I feel like Jaylen Brown will have his breakout season next year, going into year number 7. He's been shooting the ball really well lately, especially in the playoffs, carrying them while Tatum was struggling. And also Marcus Smart, their defensive player of the year, he's a key piece on that defense and also on offense. I feel like he'd be a really big give up. And also to give up a few first-round picks would not be a good trade, even though Kevin Durant is a really good player.
I just don't see the first-round picks being that valuable because if Boston wants to be a contending team, the first-round picks from Boston, even if they're unprotected, really won't be that important because they will be late in the first round.
See, but they'll have their first-round pick and Portland's first-round pick, which Portland was not a very good team this year. So they could end up with a high lottery pick. Who knows, though?
The package that was offered for Durant was Jaylen Brown, of course, and Derek White, the guard, and a draft pick to the Nets for Durant. But the Nets declined it and wanted Marcus Smart with Jaylen Brown, a few draft picks, and potentially one more rotation player.
I just don't see the reason why they need to add anybody to their team. They made it to the NBA Finals last season with a very strong team, and I don't think they need another star. Jason Tatum will carry the team, and he'll get the stats that are needed. I don't think they need Kevin Durant on their team.
Well, I just feel like there's other teams that could possibly contend. Obviously, for the past few years, especially in the bubble, teams were injured and weren't able to contend. And if the Nets are able to even keep KD, they're still a very good team. If Ben Simmons is able to play, they have Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, and Seth Curry. And I think adding Seth Curry in the middle of the season for that James Harden trade was really important because I think he could be a great role player, especially for guys like Kyrie to take a break on the scoring role and for Ben Simmons to distribute to all three of those shooters.
I agree with you guys. I think Kevin Durant should not be traded for the Boston Celtics because the Nets are doing pretty well. I think they can fight their way back maybe to the conference finals. And the Celtics had a wonderful season. Once all their players are healthy and they get better bench players like they got Danilo Gallinari, they will contend for the finals.
Also, another thing is that people are forgetting, Boston just went off the finals, adding 2 players like Malcolm Brogdon, who can help bench scoring or even start, and his playmaking ability that Marcus Smart does not have. And Danilo Gallinari, a big wing, 6'10", and he can make shots, get rebounds, and pass the ball really well, which I think both those two will be really good additions.
Yeah, so I think we all agree that Kevin Durant should not be traded to the Boston Celtics. I think he should stay because the Nets will need him, and I think him and Kyrie Irving can work something out to get them back into the playoffs.
Especially having a former 20-point-per-game scorer in Malcolm Brogdon, who can also assist the ball off of Boston's bench. I think Boston might be the deepest team in the league with Brogdon, Gallinari, and I love Grant Williams. I think the guy just plays hard, and I think he's a great player just that fits in. I think he's the modern-day P.J. Tucker in a way. I think he gives the same values of P.J. Tucker, an undersized power forward, but he'll hustle out there on defense, and he'll really help just give that attitude on defense. And I think if just Tatum could even try a little more on the defensive end, as a lot of times he would just stay on, when he would miss a shot, he would just stay over there and not hustle back on defense. I think that's also what resulted in a lot of Andrew Wiggins scoring. I just think Tatum needs to try more on defense because obviously with his frame, with his size, with his wingspan, I think he could definitely be a very versatile defender along with being a very good scorer.
Also, when the playoffs started, Celtics were a big favorite to win the finals because of their amazing defense and their way to work together to score many points. I think the Celtics will win the finals next year.
And there is a saying, too many cooks in the kitchen, or in this case, too many stars on one team. If you're adding a guy like Kevin Durant, who obviously he wants to be the star of the team, and with already someone like Jason Tatum, I just think they could clash personality-wise and just make the Celtics just overflow with too many egos.
Also, two of the same players on the same team. Tatum and Durant are basically the same players, except Tatum is just a little smaller in ways.
Yeah.
But I feel like those two on the same team wouldn't really fit together because they both want to be the number 1 option. So how's that really going to work? They both want to get 8+ rebounds a game. How's that going to work? And they both need to facilitate to the other players because they're both dominant ball scorers. So I don't know how this is going to work out if those two are on the same team.
I almost feel like the Celtics should try to take the same path that the Philadelphia 76ers are taking, especially with their superstar James Harden taking a pay cut to help the team out because Harden definitely wants a championship. I think if some guys on the Celtics were willing to do what Harden did so they could add a few more role players, because I really don't think they need another superstar, but just getting a few more, let's just say, sharp shooters to add to that to the bench and maybe even to the starting lineup. And I'm not a huge Peyton Pritchard fan. I just think the guy just doesn't show up in big moments, and I think just he can't really create his own shot to the level people thought he could. But I think a lot of times superstars just want to be that number one option. They want to score all the time. But what Harden did to take a pay cut to his contract to sign a guy like PJ Tucker who's going to help the 76ers defense, I think it's really well thought out of Harden to just help the team needs and not just make all the money for himself.
And the biggest thing about Boston last year was bench scoring. They were so inconsistent. Derek White would drop 20, next 2 games he would drop like 4. Same with Peyton Pritchard. He had one big game where he had 16 or 17. Next 2 games he dropped like 3. In the finals he did not score the ball much.
Back to what Jacob said. Super teams are not really working out. Like Jason Tatum, like Jake said, Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant are kind of the same player. They both play around shooting forward, power forward, and I don't think they'll be able to cooperate because Kevin Durant has also had problems back in 2017 with Draymond Green, and that also split up the super team. And the last time a super team has worked out was Anthony Davis, LeBron, and now the Lakers are at the bottom and they're not doing that good because Anthony Davis is not getting anything done and LeBron can't just help the Lakers by himself. So I feel like the same thing might happen with the Boston Celtics. So they should keep the original team.
I just couldn't say super teams don't work out because we saw that Warriors dynasty with Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, but with the super team, as you saw on that team, they had guys like Andre Iguodala. You need very good role players to really win a championship and become an elite level team. That's why the 76ers adding a guy like PJ Tucker will really help. And I think also for the 76ers, if Tyrese Maxey could pan out, that would be good. And I think that they're the Celtics' biggest competition. So I think if the Celtics were able to acquire KD this offseason, I think that would actually make them a better team than the 76ers.
Yeah, they just came off the finals. The only 2 things that they needed was bench scoring and playmaking in Malcolm Brogdon and a big wing that can score the ball off the bench with Gallinari. And they're both really consistent, so you don't have to worry about that.
The Eastern Conference is getting much more competitive with a bunch of good teams like the Heat, the Nets, the Celtics, the 76ers, and more. And I think that the Celtics are fine with the original team since they added new 2 people with Brogdon and Gallinari. And now the Celtics I think they will be able to go to the finals and hopefully win because they have a really good, strong defense with a really good offense. And they can score a lot and work together. Just they need better bench players.
I do think that Gallinari is a really good pickup for them because obviously their 2 centers don't stretch the floor, and Enes Freedom and Robert Williams. So I think just having
even on the team.
Oh yeah, I forgot. But anyways, I think just having a big man that can really stretch the floor is really important because I was actually thinking that they should maybe pick up a guy in Maxi Kleber, who used to play for the Dallas Mavericks, would actually be a really good pickup for them because he does stretch the floor at a big man frame. I think nowadays just having any player on your team that you can just kick the ball out to, especially with a guy like Malcolm Brogdon, who was good at spreading the ball out. And I think that's why Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner worked out because Miles Turner can stretch the floor at a decent level.
Okay, let's take a vote. Should KD go to Boston? Yes
No, they should not go. He should not go to Boston because I think he might ruin the team.
I say no as well. You?
I'm 50-50 almost because I think he would help them, but not in the long term. But just based on how young their core is right now and how they've gotten better throughout the offseason, I'm going to have to vote no.
I don't think so either. Because imagine you trade your entire future for Durant and he doesn't deliver you a championship. What is that trade going to do? KD has shown that he can't lead a team to a championship without Steph Curry and Klay Thompson.
I don't think so. KD, with the trade, their team will be good, but I feel like they're going to fail in the conference finals